have seen and observed so many people going to the gym, getting themselves involved in fitness program, cardio workouts, Zumba, cycling, CrossFit, and the list goes on. So what could be the reason to engage themselves in all of the above mentioned physical activities, apart from the aim of enhancing cognitive performance, maybe enhancing physical functionality or strengthening of the cardiac muscle and the skeletal muscles? Well, you guessed it right. It's fat loss. Getting rid of that stubborn excess stored body fat. So what is fat loss? Fat loss in simple nomenclature refers to reducing the excess stored body fat, and this excess stored body fat in medical literature is termed as triglyceride or triacylglyceride. You must have seen this word mentioned in your lipid profile report if you have done your cholesterol checkup. It's mentioned as triglyceride, and this triglyceride is stored in the body in the adipose tissue, which consists of adipocytes or fat cells. So the main objective of any fat loss program is to reduce the size of this adipose tissue or fat cells. So the question that arises is that how to reduce the size of this adipose tissue or adipocyte cells. Hi, my name is Nikesh and welcome to my channel. Before we talk about fat loss, I feel it's important we have a small discussion about how this fat or triglyceride produced and stored within the adipose tissue. Well, triglyceride is a lipid molecule which can be ingested through food or dietary sources. In this process, it gets absorbed in the small intestine, packaged into chylomicrons, they travel through the lymphatic system and eventually end up in the bloodstream, where they enter the capillary beds and get taken up by the adipose tissue for storage. And the same can be taken up by the other tissues for energy production if there is a demand for energy. These triglycerides can also be manufactured by the liver from excess glucose and amino acids. In this video, specifically we would be talking about glucose. So post meal we have this high glycemic phase. During this phase, which is also termed as hyperglycemia or high blood sugar. So during this phase, the glucose can be used by the body for energy production or ATP synthesis. And if the demand for energy is not that high, this glucose can be used to fill the glycogen stores. By the way, glycogen is the stored form of glucose, and this glycogen is stored in the liver, and some of it is also stored in the muscle cells for later use as and when there is a demand for energy. With the help of a very special hormone, we will talk about that hormone in a while. It's a very important hormone. Once these glycogen stores are filled, the rest of the glucose is converted into triglycerides or body fat. With the help of various enzymes and through various chemical reactions. The liver is very well equipped with the enzymes and the tools required to manage this process. We are not going to get into the specific pathways and chemical reactions which occur to synthesize triglycerides or fat. However, it is important to know what causes these triglycerides to accumulate within the body and how this accumulation happens and how we can counteract this problem through dietary and lifestyle changes. Coming back to that important hormone which we spoke about a while ago, it's called insulin. Insulin plays a very crucial role in synthesizing glycogen via glycogenesis and triglycerides via lipogenesis. It's a lipogenic hormone, fat producing hormone. So this triglyceride is produced in the liver and also in the adipose tissue with the help of insulin. And insulin does all of this via activation of different biochemical pathways. The aim or objective of insulin is to reduce the high postprandial sugar, the sugar spike which the body experiences post meal. Our body does not like having too much glucose in the bloodstream and hence wants to dispose it off with the help of the insulin hormone. Some of the glucose gets stored as glycogen, some of it can be used for energy production. And if the energy requirement, as I said earlier, is not high, most of it gets stored as triglycerides. The glucose can enter the liver independently without the help of insulin. However, when this glucose wants to enter the adipose tissue, it needs help of the insulin hormone. Once the glucose enters the adipose tissue, it can be used to produce triglycerides. However, the triglycerides which are produced in the liver are packaged into carrier protein molecules known as VLDL, very low density lipoprotein. You must have come across this name as well in your lipid profile report. So this VLDL, which contains triglycerides, also contains cholesterol and some other molecules, and these VLDLs are sent into circulation bloodstream by the liver once they are packaged. These VLDL then unloads the triglycerides into the adipose tissue with the help of lipoprotein lipase. Lipoprotein lipase breaks the triglycerides into its individual component like the fatty acid and the glycerol. Once it's broken down into its individual component, it enters the adipose tissue. Once it enters the adipose tissue, these components are resynthesized or re-esterified into triglycerides for storage. Our fat or adipose tissue is a gigantic reservoir for fat storage. So now we know how the body uses excess glucose to synthesize triglycerides or body fat and this excess glucose usually comes from refined and processed carbohydrate food such as refined rice, pasta, pizza, donuts, candies, high fructose food products, and the list goes on. So what we discussed just now was lipogenesis, means how the body produces fat from the food that we eat, especially refined carbohydrate food. Now in the latter part of the video we would be talking about lipolysis, that means fat breakdown of the stored body fat. In contrast to lipogenesis, lipolysis works on breaking down stored triglyceride or stored body fat. Since high blood sugar is the stimulus for insulin to enable glucose uptake and fatty acid synthesis or lipogenesis, another hormone which works as an antagonist to insulin, which enables breakdown of stored triglyceride, is called glucagon. And glucagon is released by the alpha cells of the pancreas. And for your information, insulin is released by the beta cells. So what could be the stimulus for the alpha cells to release glucagon? Well, it's low blood sugar or the fasting stage when the blood sugar level drops. Even other hormones stimulate the release of glucagon when they bind onto the receptors of the alpha cells, such as the epinephrine and non-epinephrine hormones, and these hormones are released when the sympathetic nervous system is activated. There are other hormones as well. In short, all these hormones work in synergy to stimulate the release of glucagon. The main aim and objective of glucagon is to raise blood sugar levels within the range of 80 and 120 mg per deciliter. Anything above 120 mg per deciliter is termed as hyperglycemia, and anything below 70 mg per deciliter is termed as hypoglycemia, means low blood sugar. The glucagon hormone works on different target organs and exerts its effect via different signaling mechanisms. In the liver, it enables the breakdown of stored glycogen via glycogenolysis to raise blood sugar levels. It can also enable the production of glucose from other substrates such as amino acids, the building block of proteins, lactic acid, and glycerol, which is the breakdown product of triglyceride. The other target organ where the glucagon hormone exerts its effect is the adipose tissue. Within the adipose tissue, glucagon hormone enables the breakdown of triglyceride into glycerol and fatty acids with the help of an enzyme, that's the hormone sensitive lipase enzyme. Once the triglyceride is broken down into its individual components, the glycerol molecule travels to the liver to produce glucose, and the fatty acid component can be taken up by different cells and tissues for energy production. So now we know the two hormones which are responsible for lipogenesis and lipolysis. Lipogenesis means fatty acid synthesis and lipolysis means fatty acid breakdown or triglyceride breakdown. And the two hormones which are responsible are glucagon and insulin. So it's very important for us to keep the insulin hormone at low levels so that the body does not end up with accumulating too much of triglycerides within the adipose tissue. Wouldn't it make sense if we curb or reduce the intake of food which triggers the release of insulin the most, which puts a lot of stress on the pancreas, the beta cells of the pancreas to release insulin, help us in an effective reduction of stored body fat, and this could be done by with moderate consumption of carbohydrate food which has a low glycemic index value, which is high in fiber and low in starch, and Along with that, we can also incorporate quality fats and superior quality protein in our diet. We can also augment the overall fat loss process by performing regular physical activities. In that too, we can choose exercises or workouts which would help us achieve a more comprehensive outcome with proper toning of the skeletal muscles as well. If you would like to know the exercise selection process, you can watch my video on exercise selection for effective fat loss. So by making simple dietary and lifestyle changes, we can channelize our fat loss program towards curbing fat gain and enabling more of fat breakdown, which would finally help us achieve the desired body composition. So in today's video, we spoke about how the body synthesizes fat from the food that we ingest or eat, especially refined and processed carbohydrate food, and how it breaks down stored triglycerides whenever it experiences low blood sugar levels. And we can augment the overall fat loss process with proper selection of exercises. So whatever we discussed in this video about insulin and glucagon was an oversimplified version of how the actual endocrine pancreatic system works. But I just wanted to put some light on the important points and the actual facts, how everything happens within the body. Well, if I missed anything, please feel free to write it down in the comment section below. It's a learning phase for me as well. So I would appreciate if you would like to add something to whatever was discussed in this video. Thank you so much for watching this video till the end. As I always say, train hard, eat wisely and take care of your body. This is Nikesh signing off. You all have a healthy and beautiful day ahead. Take care. Bye bye.